I'm Michael Day. During the past 18 years, I've had the good fortune to visit East Africa 10 times, 5 times with Susan. The primary purpose of each visit was to stay at various safari camps, meet and interact with local people, sometimes revisiting old friends, and participate in wildlife safaris. Though, in 2017, prior to a Kenya safari, I did trek to the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. By now, I visited over 20 different safari camps in both Kenya and Tanzania, and taken over 25,000 photos. Arranged by year and camps visited, what follows are my most special safari moments and my favorite photographs. 2004, Batalur Camp, located outside the Maasai Mara National Reserve near the Olulolo Gate in southern Kenya. For our first visit to East Africa, Batalur was a very memorable safari camp. We would return again. Encountering our first Maasai giraffe greeting committee. Each safari, they tend to be the first wildlife seen. Having warthogs as guests during our first lunch at Batalur Camp. Feeling the richness of the Maasai Mara, its grasslands, escarpment, and rivers, home to a vast assortment of wildlife. Falling in love with the little Thompson's gazelle, affectionately called Tommies. Watching families of vocal zebras, each zebra with their own unique stripe patterns. Spending part of a morning observing 2 cheetah brothers during one of our first safaris. Watching the behavior of a lion pride at a recent kill, especially the extended bellies of lion cubs. Climbing the escarpment behind Batalur Camp and getting a bird's eye view of the Mara. Visiting our first Maasai boma, small huts made of mud and cow dung. And having lunch at the grassland border with Tanzania and seeing the vastness of the Serengeti Maasai Mara landscape. 2006, Klein's Camp, located in the northeastern part of Serengeti National Park, northwest Tanzania. We were traveling with friends. Klein's is another lovely camp, one we would revisit a few times, secluded and perched on a hillside. Experiencing the excitement surrounding an early morning game drive, wondering what you'll encounter next. Perhaps a pack of hyenas or a herd of zebras. Watching a rich assortment of birds, such as the hawk eagle and the lovely lilac-breasted roller. Catching our first glimpse of the great wildebeest migration, taking a shortcut, a more direct route north. Also seeing white-backed vultures who followed the migration, key scavengers of the Serengeti. Experiencing other migration scavengers, including marabou storks, perhaps the ugliest bird you'll encounter while on safari. Stopping for female herds of elephants and their calves, especially fun seeing them interact with other wildlife. Many afternoons experiencing communities of impalas and watchful giraffes along a forested creek bed. encountering for the first time the smells and sounds of hippos along the river in the southern Serengeti. Having breakfast along the lush grasses of the northern Serengeti. And enjoying an evening walk to a Maasai boma near a recently planted field of corn. 2007 Kenya Safari. 14 travelers, 2 drivers, 800 miles of road, driving north to Mount Kenya, west crossing the Rift Valley to Kakamega Rainforest and Lake Victoria, and then southeast to the Maasai Mara National Reserve. 7 camps, including the Serena Mountain Lodge, Rondo Retreat Center, Kakamega Rainforest, Lake Nakuru Lodge, and the Serena Mara. We only have time for a few highlights. Walking close to giraffes and other animals on a private wild game sanctuary at Aberdare Country Club. Experiencing local cultural programs by both Nakuru and Maasai performers. Visiting a local primary school near Lake Nakuru. Visiting with native fishermen at Lake Baringo in the Rift Valley and feeding fish eagles. Taking photographs from a ground-level bunker at the mountain lodge, close to a natural waterhole and salt lick. Walking the sandy shoreline of Lake Nakuru and watching, along with a hyena, a massive number of flamingos and other water birds. Watching a number of female monkeys tending to their infants, especially the beautiful black and white colobus at Lake Nakuru. And on an evening game drive in the Maasai Mara, watching a stunning resting cheetah and a playful group of hyena pups. 2008 Batalur Camp. Our first return to Batalur Camp. Our safari guide and driver had been our butler in 2004. We stayed in the new North Camp, also lovely, with 2 game drives each day. The Mara landscape remained enchanting, the escarpment used for the 1985 filming of Out of Africa. We were once more treated to breakfast on the Mara. One treat was interacting with a young eland calf, recently abandoned by its mother and adopted by rangers at the Northern Mara entrance. Another treat was driving off-road through the bush in search of a black rhino mom and calf. Another was spending over an hour with a lion pride that had lots of cubs, some still nursing. And then, on an early morning game drive, seeing our first serval cats and bat-eared foxes, searching for food and resting. And then spending some time with one of the most fascinating savanna birds, the secretary bird, in pursuit of snakes, lizards, and insects. And then we finally spent some time watching zebras navigating the dangerous Mara River in close proximity to massive Nile crocodiles, not advised for the faint of heart. And doing one of our favorite things, watching hippos. (2009) Tanzania Safari, arranged by a Tanzanian guiding friend for me and 2 backpacking friends. 12 days spent in 3 camps in Serengeti National Park and visits to Olduvai Gorge, Lake Eyasi, the Ngorongoro Crater, and Tangere National Park. A buddy safari. Staying in a variety of medium-priced but comfortable lodging camps. Seeing my first klipspringers walking effortlessly on rocky terrain in the northern Serengeti. Watching a baboon nursing in a field of water plants in the western Serengeti. Following the great migration of wildebeest in the central and western Serengeti. Visiting Olduvai Gorge Museum with its fossilized footprints of our earliest walking ancestors. Sharing a smoke and joining a small group of remaining hunter-gatherers for a bird hunt near Lake Eyasi. Watching a sunset Maasai performance on the rim of the Ngorongoro Crater. Enjoying the numerous herds of elephants in Tangere National Park. And, also in Tangere, standing in awe before the baobab tree, perhaps the most enchanting tree in all of East Africa. 2013, our second Kenya safari, this time with 13 travelers, 2 drivers, and a different route, 600 miles of road driving, and still visiting some of our favorite safari locations, but adding semi-arid Samburu National Park to the north, as well as a few attractions in Nairobi. A few highlights. Spending part of a morning visiting the Daphne Sheldrick Elephant Orphanage in Nairobi, and falling in love with a baby elephant named Ajabu. Visiting the Giraffe Center in Nairobi, and learning about and feeding Rothschild giraffes. In Samburu National Park, seeing a pack of shaggy wild dogs for the first time in the wild. And in Samburu, seeing my first Gerenux standing on back legs and browsing the leaves and flowers of thorn trees. Also in Samburu, seeing my first in the wild Bisa oryx. When viewed from the side, they appear to be unicorns. Another Samburu treat was seeing the lovely vulturing guinea fowl with its vulture-like neck and reddish-orange cap on the back of its head. And on the Maasai Mara, surrounded by Thompson's gazelles, seeing a massive, beautiful breeding Maasai ostrich. At Lake Nakuru, seeing white rhinos grazing again, but this time with little ones. From my bunker view at the mountain lodge, seeing lots more Cape buffaloes, and also lovely Egyptian geese spreading their wings. And at Lake Nakuru, spending some time photographing a family of Egyptian geese out for a swim. 2016 return trip to Klein's Camp in northeastern Serengeti National Park, and our first visit to Grumeti River Lodge in western Serengeti, also traveling with friends. Though 10 years had passed, Klein's Camp was still lovely. Great stone lodge and huts, great staff, great setting, and fascinating wildlife. This trip, one of the highlights was hiking the hillside behind the camp and getting breathtaking views of the northern Serengeti. And visiting another Maasai Boma, being surrounded by Maasai cattle on a village road, and visiting a colorful and energetic Maasai market. Having a surprise sundowner one evening hosted by the entire Klein staff. And a never-to-be-forgotten morning spent with a leopard and her 2 yearling cubs. Then a flight to the western Serengeti and a 3-night stay at the Grumeti River Lodge. Welcomed by a troop of baboons, always willing to stop and observe female impalas interact with fawns. Same goes for watching lion cubs playing under the watchful presence of mom. Or the always beautiful lilac-breasted roller, especially when you can photograph them in flight and capture their baby blue underwing. Or always fun, spending time with hippos. But a real treat this visit was spending time with gray-crowned cranes when engaged in their courtship dance. And coming upon 2 male Maasai giraffes after what seems a brutal fight, one standing over the other in dominance, the other lying on the ground, then to have them both stand and run off. But the grandest moment was one morning returning to the central Serengeti and watching a female cheetah calling her 4 cubs to join her for a meal. – 2017. This was our 3rd Kenya safari, again with 14 travelers, 2 drivers, and another different route. Only 500 miles of road driving. Still visiting some of our favorite safari locations, but unable to visit Samburu, we added a 2-night stay at the Oelpijita Conservancy, just north of Aberdare National Park. I had just completed a successful trek to the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro, so was feeling both tired and satisfied. A few highlights. Spending an overnight at Aberdare Country Club, enjoying another morning game walk. Spending a full day and night at the Ark Lodge with its historic walkway, waterhole, salt lick, and bunker. Getting some up-close photos from the lodge's ground-level bunker. Photographing activity at a bird feeder placed on the Ark Lodge walkway. Visits by bush babies and mouse birds. Photographing reticulated giraffes at the Oelpijita Conservancy. One morning, a giraffe and calf drinking water at its waterhole. One evening, enjoying a tower of reticulated giraffes as sunset approached. And throughout our stay, experiencing lots of northern white rhinos, a real conservancy success story. On our return visit to Lake Nakuru, seeing lots of southern white rhinos, this time with even younger calves. And watching some warthogs enjoying a dip in the waterhole. Another treat at Lake Nakuru was coming across a spotted hyena and a black-backed jackal sharing grassland with each other. And on our return visit to the Maasai Mara, spending an early morning treated first to some southern ground hornbills. And then watching a sunlit dazzle of zebras, as well as another spotted hyena and a pair of black-backed jackals. And ending our morning in the Mara with my favorite Lion Pride experience to date, a wonderful photo op. (2019) Tanzania Safari. 10 years after the Backpacking Buddies Safari in 2009, my Tanzanian guiding friend arranged a similar adventure using a similar route for a small group of Laramie travelers. 12 days spent in 2 camps in Serengeti National Park and visits to the Olduvai Gorge Museum, Tangier, Lake Manyara, and the Ngorongoro Crater. First, the lodges we stayed in were inviting and splendid. We even stayed in a bush camp on the Serengeti. Some highlights. On an early morning game drive in Tangier National Park, coming upon a cheetah and her very young cub, brownish in color to help camouflage in tall grasses. And entering Lake Manyara National Park, stopping at the lake and being treated to a pack of banded mongoose scurrying off-road. And for the first time, experiencing tree climbing lions near the entrance to Lake Manyara National Park. And during an early morning game drive in Manyara, seeing a lovely assortment of water birds, and 2 hippos emerged in a watery salad. A special treat was visiting the home and family school of our Tanzanian driver and guide, located near Lake Manyara. Another treat was driving through the Ngorongoro Crater mid-afternoon and seeing a delightful assortment of wildlife. Leaving the crater, we also visited a welcoming Maasai community and school, as well as spent a few hours touring the newly remodeled Olduvai Gorge Museum. Then, arriving Serengeti National Park, greeted with a Lion King movie moment. A beautiful male lion standing atop a rocky outcropping overlooking his territory. Also, on the Serengeti early one morning, unexpectedly, we saw a Maasai giraffe, mom and calf, very close to the road. And just when you think you can no longer be surprised by animal behavior, we came upon both a hammerkop and Nile crocodile fishing, and a monitor lizard, all seemingly at ease in each other's presence. In the western Serengeti, finding herds of migrating wildebeest. And, following the wildebeest, we found a variety of boisterous scavengers. (2022) Battulur Camp. A 5-night return trip to the Battulur Camp, perhaps a final safari at our favorite and first camp. An opportunity to travel once more with our friend, our safari guide and driver, who was our butler in 2004. Once more we stayed at North Camp, though it had been recently remodeled, also charming with 2 game drives each day. And a real homecoming for us and some of the wonderful Battulur Camp staff. And we participated in lots of game drives. We also learned of another abandoned eland calf adopted by the North Mara Gate staff, and finally got a good sighting of the blue monkeys, always heard but seldom seen around camp. This return trip, we experienced many more herds of elephants than in previous visits. Once more, we had lots of lovely bird sightings. Long-crested eagles, lappet-faced vultures, saddlebill storks, and Goliath herons. Then, one afternoon, we were treated to a black rhino and calf moving through tall grass. And we never tired of seeing members of the 3 big cat families, a male leopard resting in a tree, or lions, and we saw plenty of them. One time we enjoyed watching a pride feeding on a recent kill, or an adolescent cheetah finishing a morning kill of a young gazelle, and with a gathering of scavengers waiting patiently nearby. And then perhaps our final farewell to the Maasai Mara. Our last sheet of photos includes some of my favorites. A Maasai boma on the rim of the Ngorongoro crater, a recently born hippocap with his mom on the Serengeti River, a herd of running wildebeest on the Ngorongoro crater, and sunrise with balanites trees on the Maasai Mara. That's our video. Both as a photographer and traveler, I'm extremely fortunate to have visited East Africa as often as I have. I'm currently planning on hopefully a return visit. A few years back, I put together an illustrated 133-page wildlife safari photo journal. If you'd like a copy or would like to contact me, contact information is provided in the video description. Thanks for watching.